It's an idea you sometimes hear, a modern-day fairy tale whispered in pubs and on social media feeds. What if every celebrity, every footballer on a six-figure weekly wage, every pop star with a mansion in the hills, simply gave away a chunk of their fortune? Imagine if they clubbed together and handed £1 million to every family struggling to get by. It sounds like a fantasy, of course, but the fact that people even think about it tells you everything you need to know about the state of our country. It speaks of a deep and growing desperation, a feeling that the system is so broken, so rigged, that our only hope is a sudden, miraculous act of charity from the super rich. This isn't just about envy, it's about a profound sense of injustice. People see celebrities living lives of unimaginable luxury, flaunting wealth that could transform thousands of lives. They see this while they themselves are working longer hours for less pay, watching their energy bills soar, and worrying about how to afford the weekly shop. The contrast is jarring, and it feels fundamentally wrong. This isn't a game of haves and have-nots. It's a chasm that has opened up in our society. The wealth of a tiny minority has become so vast, so disconnected from the reality of daily life for everyone else, that it almost seems like it belongs to another world entirely. When you see a famous actor buying a third holiday home, or a musician showing off a garage full of sports cars, it's hard not to feel a sting of resentment. It's not that people don't believe they earned their money, it's the sheer scale of it that grates. The reality is that no one that much wealth. It's wealth for wealth's sake, a collection of assets that exist far beyond any reasonable measure of comfort or security. This spectacle of extreme riches, broadcast daily into our homes, serves as a constant, painful reminder of what has been lost. A sense of shared community and the belief that we are all, in some basic way, in this together. So the fantasy of celebrity wealth redistribution is born from this despair. It's a cry for help. It's a reflection of a society where the official channels for creating a fairer world seem to have failed. When the government appears unwilling or unable to tackle the grotesque inequality that scars Britain, people naturally look elsewhere for heroes. They look to the famous faces on their screens, the modern-day royalty of our age, and they wonder why those with so much don't do more to help those with so little. It's a question that hangs heavy in the air, a symptom of a much deeper national illness that needs a real cure, not just a charitable plaster. Let's be clear about what this inequality actually looks like on the ground. For one person, life is a constant battle against rising costs and stagnant wages. It's deciding between heating the house and putting a hot meal on the table. It's the stress of an unexpected bill, the fear of a boiler breaking down, the quiet shame of having to use a food bank. It's a life lived on the edge, where one piece of bad luck can send you spiraling into debt. Public services, from the NHS to local libraries, are crumbling around you, yet you're told there's no money to fix them. This is the reality for millions of hardworking people across the UK. Then there is the other Britain. This is a world of private jets, exclusive postcodes, and personal chefs. It's a world where money is not a source of anxiety, but a tool for acquiring more power and more luxury. In this world, your children attend elite schools that act as a conveyor belt to the best universities and the top jobs. You have access to private healthcare, skipping the queues that the rest of us endure. Your wealth isn't just sitting in a bank, it's working for you, generating more income through investments and property portfolios, often taxed at a lower rate than the wages of a nurse or a teacher. The rules that govern our society often feel like they were written by the rich, for the rich. Take our tax system. A person earning a salary pays their income tax and national insurance automatically, every single month, with no escape. But for the super wealthy, it's a different story. They can afford expensive accountants to exploit loopholes, shifting their money into offshore accounts or trusts. We see big corporations making billions in profit in the UK, yet paying shockingly little in corporation tax. It sends a clear message. If you're a regular person, you pay your way. If you're rich enough, the rules are merely optional. This isn't an accident, it's the result of political choices made over decades. Policies have consistently favoured big business and the wealthy, based on the flimsy promise that their riches will eventually trickle down to the rest of us. But the trickle has dried up, if it ever existed at all. Instead, wealth has gushed upwards into the hands of a tiny elite, creating the most unequal society in generations. The gap between the rich and the poor is not just about lifestyles, it's about life chances, health outcomes, and the very hope for a better future. That is the real unfairness that fuels the public's anger. So, what about the argument for celebrities simply sharing their wealth? The appeal is obvious. It's direct, it's immediate, and it bypasses the slow, clunky machinery of government. Proponents would say that celebrities, many of whom have built their careers on the support and adoration of the public, have a moral duty to give back. They didn't become rich in a vacuum. They became rich because ordinary people bought their albums, watched their films, and paid for tickets to see them perform. In this view, their wealth is, in part, a public creation, and it should be used for the public good, especially in a time of national crisis. Think of the impact. If a handful of the UK's wealthiest celebrities each gave away a few million, it could fund youth centres, save local libraries from closure, or provide grants to families on the brink of homelessness. These aren't just abstract ideas, they are tangible actions that would change lives overnight. For supporters of this idea, it's about basic human decency. When you have more money than you could ever possibly spend, and you see others suffering, there is a powerful moral case for stepping in to help. It's a form of social responsibility that goes beyond paying taxes. It's an active participation in the well-being of the community. However, there are strong arguments against this idea. Many would say that a celebrity's money is theirs and theirs alone. They earned it through their talent, their hard work, and often by taking significant risks early in their careers. Why should they be penalized for their success? This argument champions individual liberty and property rights. It suggests that forcing or pressuring them to give away their earnings is unfair and sets a dangerous precedent. Who decides how much is too much? Where does it stop? This perspective warns against a culture of entitlement, where success is punished and personal responsibility is eroded. Furthermore, opponents argue that this places the responsibility for social welfare in the wrong hands. It isn't the job of pop stars and actors to fix poverty. That is the fundamental role of a democratically elected government, funded through a fair and progressive tax system. Relying on the whims of celebrity charity is unsustainable and unreliable. It turns social justice into a lottery, dependent on which causes happen to be fashionable or which celebrity feels generous on a particular day. It lets the government off the hook, allowing them to abdicate their duty to create a society that works for everyone, not just the wealthy. While the fantasy of celebrities solving poverty is tempting, it is ultimately a distraction from the real issue. The problem isn't a lack of generosity from famous people. It's a political and economic system that is fundamentally broken. Relying on charity, no matter how well-intentioned, is like putting a plaster on a gaping wound. It might stop the bleeding for a moment, but it does nothing to heal the underlying injury. We don't need more charity. We need more justice. We need a system that doesn't create such grotesque levels of poverty and inequality in the first place. My view is that the focus must shift from individuals to the structures that govern our society. We need to demand a radical overhaul of our tax system. It is a national disgrace that billionaires can pay a lower effective tax rate than their cleaners. We must clamp down on tax avoidance and offshore havens, ensuring that corporations and the super-rich pay their fair share. This isn't about punishment, it's about funding the public services that we all rely on, our schools, our hospitals, and our social care system. It's about rebuilding the foundations of a decent society. We also need to strengthen the power of ordinary working people. This means boosting trade unions, raising the minimum wage to a real living wage, and ensuring that workers have secure contracts and a voice in their workplaces. For too long, the balance of power has been tilted in favor of employers and capital, driving down wages and conditions. A fairer Britain is one where work pays properly and people have dignity and security in their jobs. This rebalancing of power is essential to ensure that the wealth our country generates is shared more equitably among those who create it. Ultimately, the change we need won't come from the charitable impulses of the super-rich. It will come from us. It will come from collective action, from political engagement, and from demanding that our leaders build a country that serves the many, not the privileged few. We need to build a society where a child's future isn't determined by the wealth of their parents, and where no one has to rely on the generosity of a celebrity to keep a roof over their head. That is the challenge we face. It's not about taking from the rich out of spite, but about creating a Britain we can all be proud of.